Let's begin today's Vanguard news by finally getting to see Estacion's cards in the Japanese version of DZSS08, because the Skyride manga doesn't fully explain their card effects. Estacion is your typical D-series starter that you come to expect in Stoicheia of having plant-animal hybrids. Legend of Ranbu Estacion, when ridden over by Legend of Rajo Estacion, lets you Soul Blast Estacion, and revealing a grade 3 Estacion card in your right deck to call a blast token to your central back row rear guard. Take note, you must Soul Blast the grade 0 Estacion as it's specifying the exact card, and not just any card with Estacion in its name. And it's quite rare that a Stoicheia ride line would only work during your grade to ride turn. Blast is a token card while on rear guard, cannot move to other circles, and gets all of its other abilities if you have a Estacion Vanguard. While on rear guard, it cannot be affected by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn while on rear guard, you can put 2-3 of your other rear guards as this card's plant gauge to draw a card. And while on rear guard during your turn, all your front row units get 5k power for every 3 gauge of this card if you have a grade 3 or higher Vanguard. Holy Granfia, plant gauges are back on the menu. Not only is this token better than Noblesse Rose in every way, you get it as early as your grade to ride turn. Legend of Rajo Estacion, when placed by riding over Legend of Ranbu Estacion, lets you add up to 1 Vital Blaze Blast from your deck. So not only did you get a free 5k token who's basically untouchable on your grade to ride turn, you also get a specific card from your deck for free. As a Keta Sanctuary main, I feel the nation bias to be all too real. Vital Blaze Blast is a normal order card that can only be played if you have a Estacion Vanguard, and by paying 1 Soul Blast to put this card as a plant gauge in your blast token, then call up to 1 card with a grade equal or lower than your Vanguard from the top 5 cards of your deck. You call a plant token instead if you did not call a card with this ability. And when this card is discarded during your turn as a plant gauge, give one of your blast unit 5k power. All of the unit cards revealed today are forest dragons that are also of the blast race. We haven't even gotten to the main grade 3 or its rear guard supports, and the deck can already gain so much advantage without being punished. Seriously, this card replaces itself for either a unit from your deck or a plant token, while also becoming a plant gauge that gives one of your units power.
It's too much winning!
Legend of Shiku Estacion, once per turn while on Vanguard, lets you make the plant token that would be called to rear guard become a plant gauge instead. If you have a blast token, then you can pay 1 counter blast to call up to 1 plant token and add a card from the top 3 cards of your deck. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck instead if you have 6 or more plant gauges. And while on Vanguard, you can discard 2 plant gauges when it attacks to call up to 1 blast card from your deck or drop zone. If I didn't know any better, I could have sworn this kind of deck design philosophy is usually reserved for a lyrical Monasteria deck, since it does everything Granfia could ever want but better. The first ability alone can potentially generate you 2 cards, and the second ability replaces 2 plant token at 8 into a 4th attacker of your choice. Rusty Anna of Spring Sun, once per turn while on rear guard, lets you pay 3 energy if you have a Estacion Vanguard to call a plant token. And while on rear guard, it gets 2k power when it boosts while you have 6 or more plant gauges. We went from having one of the best ride line and boss card we've seen to date to having one of the least impressive blast dragons you can use. Ignacio of Summer Heat, when placed on rear guard by a card's ability, prevents one of your opponent's rear guards from intercepting or standing during their next stand phase if you have 3 or more plant gauges. And while on rear guard or the Guardian Circle, it gets 5k power and shields if you have a Estacion Vanguard and a blast token. Now this is a good target for the grade 3 Estacion's ability for a 4th attacker. And we finally see the mega colony aspect of the nation once again, as this card can stun an opponent's rear guard. Gran Aligned of Autumn Dawn, while in the drop zone, lets you pay 1 counter blast when you get a plant gauge during your main phase while you have an Estacion Vanguard to call itself to rear guard. And when it's placed on rear guard, call up to 1 plant token if you have a Estacion Vanguard. Depending on how much power your front row is getting, this card can potentially enable a 5th attack when called by the grade 3 Estacion's ability. But it's otherwise a good unit to call over for your extra attacks and to get a plant token when revived next turn. Solitario Frio of Winter's End when placed on rearguard by a card's ability, cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and gets an extra crit until the end of your opponent's next turn. If you have 5 or more plant gauges, and while on rearguard, or in your hand, you can put this card into your drop zone at the start of the guard step of the battle your Estacion unit was attacked, to give it 10k power for that battle. Remember how I said this felt more like a lyrical Monasteria deck due to how good its right line and supports were? Guess which card this unit copied? A grade 3 card that gets a extra crit, that has some protection from card abilities as well as being a 10k shield. Pretty sure this is just the grade 3 Obscuded skinned as an ice dragon. Seeing as this deck uses plant tokens, it has its own version like how Lyrical Monasteria got their own version of Shadow Army tokens. The evidence keeps piling. Here is the set's content, if you're still unsure if this deck is worth investing. And if my claims didn't already give it away, the answer is yes, this deck is crazy good out of the box. Finally, get those old Overlord the Nation decks ready. The 3rd volume of the Skyride manga will be coming with a promo card that appears to be named after Dragonic Overlord's attack, because a female character in the manga appears to be using the deck. Koro Comics knows their target audience very well, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Skyride manga gets adapted into an anime in the future. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments if Stoicheia was secretly a lyrical Monasteria re-education nation all along.